Hello everyone, this is Evan. We're here for our next showdown and our look at different learning management systems that are available to Iowa teachers. Today we're going to look at perhaps the most popular choice. This is Google Classroom. Google Classroom is the newest of the choices that we're looking at, and it has quickly grown a huge following within Iowa. Before we get going, I want to talk a little bit about Google Classroom and some of the similarities and differences to the other learning management systems. Google Classroom is probably not considered a true LMS in terms of what it can offer. We'll take a look at some of the things that it doesn't offer that other LMSs such as Moodle, Canvas, and Schoology offer. I prefer the term light LMS because it does a lot of LMS-like things, but it just doesn't give you all the feature set. It's kind of like a light app as opposed to that. Now that's actually a good thing in a lot of cases. A lot of teachers really don't need all the functions that a full learning management system provides. A lot of teachers are going to use this as an accompaniment to their regular class as opposed to doing true blended learning where the student is learning online for some periods of time. I'll give you a difference in that. So one of the things is in a lot of elementary classes, especially intermediate classes, 4th and 5th grade, teachers will use Google Classroom to go and to give regular homework assignments each day of the week in a particular subject. Let's say it's math. And they could create math worksheets in Google Docs and quickly assign it through Google Classroom. Google Classroom will allow the students to get the assignment, submit it, and then the teacher can go in and quickly grade it and return it to students. There is no online learning to students there. They're not getting their instruction through Google Classroom per se. They're getting all their instruction in the regular classroom. It's just that you're using this as a tool to extend that learning out. For that purpose, it's really good, and that's where we really encourage teachers to utilize that. Alternatively, if we were in, say, a blended learning or a flipped learning environment where you're going and you're sharing lessons and videos online with students, and all the directions they're getting for that lesson are delivered online, Google Classroom is not quite as robust as other learning management systems. It has a little bit more problems giving out the directions and structuring your course in a way so that it'll make sense for students. As we get going, you'll kind of see how that works. So it's very important that you know where you would want to use Google Classroom. You'd want to use it if you are doing the bulk of your instruction in the face-to-face classroom, and you especially want to use it if you're already using the Google Apps tools. If you're already using Google Docs for assignments for students and such, this is a great next step, and it makes even more sense than others, even though other learning management systems do integrate with Google to some extent. Now, you do need to be a Google Apps for Education school. You cannot go and get a free classroom account, Google Classroom teacher account, if you're not in a Google Apps school. That's one of the differences between this and versus, say, Moodle or Canvas, where you could go and just as a teacher and just say, hey, I just want to try it out, and you could do so. It is free to be a Google Apps for Education school, but there is a process that they need to do. The good news is a lot of schools in Iowa have done that, so a lot of teachers already have access. If you do, once you log in with your account, this is what you'll see. If you go to classroom.google.com, and they make it easy, just click on the plus and you can create a class right there. When you do, you're just going to call the class what you want, and if you want to add a section, say first hour or whatever, you can do that. Okay. I'm actually going to do that in a different account. I want to do that over here. Here's an account that I've got set up. I've already got one class, kind of a class that I've taught before, created, but I'm going to create a new one. As part of our showdown, we're making the same class in all the different learning management systems, and that class is called Presentation Zen. And I'm going to skip the section. We'll just go ahead and create that course. And there we go. One of the things that's nice, it comes with pre-made templates. You can go and change your theme if you would like. You can change your photo if you would like. Presentation Zen is known for its Zen-like serenity that they've got on the cover of the books and things like that. It's supposed to have things like balancing stones and such. I think I might just choose this one. That's close enough. Okay, so we'll go with this one as our theme. And again, you can upload your own photo if you'd like, and lots of different themes. It makes it pretty easy. Okay, one of the differences between light LMSs as well as regular ones is how they display information. The other light LMS, which actually has a little bit more features in Google Classroom, is Edmodo, but they both use what they call the stream. A stream, the best way to describe it is it's kind of like the wall in Facebook. As posts are created, they will go to the top of the wall and it'll just scroll down. And you'll see this as we go. You can move posts back up to the top if you'd like, but it doesn't structure it in kind of an organizational standpoint. So again, if you're doing it as an accompaniment to your class every day, you go in, you put in the new assignment, that's great because then the next day the new assignment will be on top and all the older ones will be pushed down. However, if you're structuring a course, you want to say, here's Unit 1, and here are the assignments in Unit 1, you want to structure it that way, you might get a little frustrated with how it displays. When you're brand new to Google, they start off with a tour. You can go in and it'll show you the different features. This button is where we're going to add in all the items. This is our class code over here. We'll see that when we are ready to add a student. And then up here you can see where your students are. That's your student information. And that's it to getting going. Now there are a few other features, tutorials that'll pop up once you're ready for them. But otherwise, you're ready to go. All right, the first thing we're going to look at is adding in a header. To remind you, in our practice course, we've got this as a header, kind of a welcome message that we're giving to the students. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And I'm going to go ahead and add in an item. These are the things that you can use. You can add in an announcement, an assignment, and a question. Those are the 3 items. So they don't have anything marked specifically a header. I'm going to go ahead and add in an announcement. You'll see what that looks like. Here is the text for the announcement. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in. One of the drawbacks for Google Classroom is you cannot format the text in here. It's all going to be standard text. So I can't make this a larger font, I can't change the font, those type of things. I can go in, I can put in some returns to make this a little easier to read. We'll go ahead and do it that way. Give an extra return there. Okay. In our header, we wanted to add in a picture, and I can do that sort of. You see there's no picture button, but I can add in an attachment. And it's going to say here to go either to my drive. So if I have pictures in my Google Drive account, I could go right there and grab them. As a user of Google Drive, I really don't have too much. There's one, for example, that I could click on and put in if I'd like. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and upload. I do like this feature, the drag and drop feature. You see this in a few other learning management systems, but not all. I could go the long way and click here to select a file, but I'm just going to go ahead and go and grab my file. And my file's on my desktop. And we're going to go ahead and grab, no, actually that's a later one. I want this one. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in. And once it has been placed in, I click the upload button, and then it will be in there. And so once it gets uploaded, you'll see it get placed in here. So there you go. That's how you upload a file and create a header, upload an image. And I'll go ahead and post that. And we have our first post. Now you can see some of the formatting issues that I've got with that. Copying and pasting can sometimes be issues in Google Classroom, so I would be much better off just typing it straight in. And the image doesn't get added in like it does in Canvas or Moodle, where you can go and wrap it around. It gets placed down here at the bottom. All right, our next step is to go and embed a video. Now, unfortunately, Google Classroom does not support embedding. It is one of the features that it doesn't have that other learning management systems do. The good news is it does support adding in YouTube videos, and that's probably the top item that people embed in anyways. You don't have to go and get the embed code to put in a YouTube video. You can go straight in, and we're going to show you how to do that from our practice course. Unfortunately, though, if you have content from another place like Vimeo or SlideShare or VoiceThread or whatever the case is, you want to embed that in, Google Classroom doesn't work so well. There are some workarounds. You can place it on a file or something like that, but Google Classroom, putting it directly in, as we've done with other learning management systems, doesn't work. Okay, luckily for us, though, in our practice course, our embedded video is a YouTube video. This, however, is the embed code, and I want to grab the actual link. It won't let me place the embed code in. So I've got to go back into YouTube and find that embed code. And let's see here. Go see it on YouTube. And there it is. You can see how the link is constructed differently, as the word watch in it. Alright, so now I'm going to go in. I'm going to add in an announcement, kind of like I did before. And this is called Presentation Fail, is the name of the video. I'm going to click here to add that YouTube video. And we'll let that come up. And I could do a search for it. And I did want to grab the address. Good, that comes up. I click Add, and now I go ahead and post it. And there you can see it. So this works out pretty well. Again, for YouTube videos, it works very slick. The nice thing is, if you don't really know what you want to add a video on something, well, that's where that search can come in. You can go in here and search for presentation Zen in this case, and you can see what comes up. And there's the author of the book talking about it and some interest items as well. One other thing here before we go on to our next step, you'll note that I've put this in and the older post moves down. I can go in here and I can move this to the top. Unfortunately, what will happen is, so that gets back up there, the next time I put something in, it'll again be pushed down. So it doesn't work as well as Edmodo's stream does, where you can pin it to the top, and then when things move in, they actually move in underneath the pinned item. All right, our next item is going to be add a link. Link is the same process that we've looked at before. I'm going to create another announcement. And with this, I'm going to go ahead and grab my link content. Here it is. This is a link to a lesson that I've created off the site. And I'm going to go back here. My lesson is called Presentation Zen, One Person's Journey. And I'm going to click on the link button and paste that in. I need to click here to add it. And then that'll be added. And then I'm going to post it. And there we go. It does give you a little preview of it, which is really nice. A nice visual item on there. And then when students come in, they just click on the link. It opens up in a new tab. And hey, there's my lesson. All right, so far we've looked at how to go and add in a header. We've added in a video. We cannot embed videos, but we can add in YouTube videos. And then we've also added in a link. Our next item is to add a page. Now, on a typical learning management system, the way that would work is you would have a link here, you'd click off of that, and it would open up a new page of content. Say you wanted to have your syllabus, you wanted to have just some other information about a topic, an explanation or such. Google Classroom is not set up to go and support pages. So there's no way to create a page where you click here and it opens up a new item. Now that might change in the future. Google Classroom is pretty brand new. It's just about a year and a half old as of the filming of this showdown here. So that might be a feature that they add in perhaps next year sometime. However, right now it's really just not an important part within Google Classroom. Google Classroom isn't meant to go and to create a whole lot of content for it. It's really just meant to take things you already have and then host it up to students. There is a workaround. We'll look at it later on for step 6 when we look at adding Google Docs. But for right now, if you're looking to go and add pages, this is one as a light LMS that it cannot do like regular LMSs do. All right, our next item is to go and add a document. Now, documents can be added in any learning management system, and Google Docs or Google Classroom, excuse me, is no different. Much like before, we're going to go and add in an announcement. And the item I want to add in is an ebook. It's called The Naked Presenter. If you've seen my other showdowns, you know that that is not naughty. It is an actual book and a good one too to check out. I do have my document shared. If it was online, I would share it through a link, but this is a document on my computer. Same as we saw with the image, I can go in and upload it here, and I'm going to do that. Go to my computer, grab the document, and upload it. See, it's a little larger, so it'll take a little bit more time to go and bring in. We'll let it do that. This happens to be a PDF. If it was a PowerPoint, a Word document, any type of file, you can go and upload it in. And what will happen is once it's displayed in the course, if a person clicks on it, they'll download it. PDFs are unique because they can be displayed within a browser. If I were to go in here and click on this, it doesn't have to download it. It can actually display it right within my browser. There it is. And it is rather large. See, it's 216 pages. Typically wouldn't do that. So it'll take a little bit of time to come in and get a little more clear and such. But that's the process of going and adding in documents within your course. All right, our next item is to go and add in a Google Doc. Different learning management systems vary on the amount of things they integrate with. Obviously, Google Classroom is going to integrate with Google Docs better than any other learning management system you got. And that makes sense. Google's going to integrate with Google. Let's take a look at that process. I'm going to go and add it in through this here. Now, you can also do something really unique with an assignment. We'll look at that when we get to adding an assignment in step 8 of our showdown. But I'm going to go ahead and just create an announcement. And the Google Doc that I have is the class schedule. And I'm going to go here and go straight to my Google Drive. And there it is. Some learning management systems, you don't have the ability to go and search for your Google Drive here. Of course, Google allows you to do that very much. So I'm going to type in schedule, and it comes up, and place it in. And I'm going to go ahead and post that. And it gets added in. So student goes, they look at it, and they've got the Google Classroom file. We mentioned earlier that you can't add pages into your class when like you can with the other learning management systems. The workaround for that is just to simply recreate your page, including if you want to put in some embeds or whatever. If you put that into a Google Doc, then all you need to do is just place the Google Doc into your Google Classroom. You know, there's a slight difference because you're actually leaving Google Classroom to go into a Google Doc file. But for the most part, it's not really noticeable for students. They still feel like it's the same type of environment for them. All right, so far we've looked at the content side of what we want to add in, and all of that is really done under where it says create an announcement. Now we're going to get into the collaborative side, where students can engage within this course space. And so the first thing we wanted to add was a forum. Now Google, just like other learning management systems, they call their things different things, like Canvas calls it discussions. They call their forums questions. And you can click on here. The question allows you to add a title as well as the description of the question. We've got that in our course. So there's our title. And here is our description. Using good instructional design practice, I go in and I describe what I'm looking for. We talked about the formatting issues. As you can see, I've got this formatted here from my Microsoft Word document. In other LMSs, this will work okay. Google Classroom has some difficulties with some formatting, so I need to go back in and put in some returns. And do that there. Now you know what, you can set a due date, and you can even set a due time if you'd like. You could turn that off if you don't want to. I'll leave that on for right now. I'm going to go ahead and ask that question. And then it does say, do you want to have students so they can see and reply to each other's answers, or do you want it so they can even edit their answers? Now that won't be to edit other students' answers, but it'll be to edit their own. I'm going to go ahead and allow that for a discussion forum. The difference in how you might use this is what we typically call a forum in online courses when when students are commenting on and talking with other students, and so therefore you'd want this done. If you want it to be something like an assignment or a journal where the students' responses are not seen by anybody else, just the teacher, in online courses we often call those assignments or journals. Here you would take that one off. Go ahead and ask that. And there you get your answer. Now, you might have seen beforehand when I added things in, there's this ability to go in and add a comment here below. And you can adjust whether that's for just students or just the teacher to add or students to add in. Here, this seems to be the same thing. This is where you would go in and respond to that. But this is the assignment feature within Moodle. It tells you who has completed it and who hasn't completed it. Now we don't have any students in the class right now, so it's 0 and 0. But once we get students added, you'll see how that interacts. All right, we're ready to add in an assignment. You've seen the button for it right here, so we'll go ahead and create an assignment. Google Classroom allows you to do something that is different for assignments than any other learning management system, and we'll show you that process here in a bit. First, we're going to go ahead and look at the basic one that we've looked at every other course, where we've had to upload a presentation. It does allow you to put in a title and then the description. Here my formatting came in okay, which is good. Date here is added in, and I'm going to go ahead and click assign for that. And that's the process. You'll note that you don't have a whole lot of options other than to change the due date. I'll go back in and edit that. We'll look at the other side on how you can assign points to it and such. But you don't have the ability to do what a lot of other learning management systems do, keep submissions to certain times, to allow resubmissions, all those different things. That requires a little bit more manual work here within that. The upside of that, though, is that this is a very simple user interface. There isn't a whole lot of settings that you have to worry about. I mentioned that Google Classroom does other features, and this is the feature that I like the absolute best about Google Classroom. Let's say I've got an assignment that I want students to do. One of the things that I can do is I can create that assignment in a Google Drive document. When I do so, then I can put in the directions, I can put in the appropriate spaces, I can put in things like tables or fill in the blank areas where students can go in and fill in that information. Sometimes the term worksheet gets a bad name because we think of that as all just drill and repeat. If you think of worksheet as a structure by which you help students answer questions, help structure students' learning in different ways, it doesn't have to be so much structuring to say what type of learning a student does. It just helps them know how to format that learning. Then a worksheet is actually a great instructional design tool. And the best way to distribute those is really what we've seen is adding them in through Google Classroom. To do that, I'm going to create another assignment. I'm going to call this a Google Doc assignment, just so we know which one is which. I'm going to skip the description, and I'm going to go here to add a Google Drive item. Now, I don't actually have a document created as part of the presentation Zen class. I'm just going to go ahead and pick an item from another one. We will just have it be, let's have it be this one right here. Add that in. When I add that in, I have some options here. Now it says first off the students can view the file. Let's say I just had some directions typed up, but they're going to submit their own alternative assignment, their own Drive file. Then I just want them to be able to view it. Let's say I want them to edit the file and kind of work together as a class. I could do that by clicking on this one here. The best one, though, is to make a copy for each student. If you are a teacher and you're used to the plugins Doctopus and Gradebook, this is the Doctopus plugin. It allows you to go and make a copy for each student. I click Assign. Now I have still the original file. It's taking a moment to go and create all those copies apparently. And then every time a student goes in and they click to open up, it makes a new copy of that file that the student will then complete. What's more, and really the kicker for this is that I, as a teacher, automatically have access. I can go in, I can see it through this interface, and I can see their work. So this is a great addition, and it's one of the main reasons why teachers use Google Classrooms is because it's very easy to go and to assign work using Google Drive files. All right, our next item is to add a quiz, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is probably the biggest weakness of Google Classroom. It is missing a lot of features. It's missing things like a gradebook, and it's missing things like the ability to go in and put in to kind of structure your topics a little bit, but most of those are kind of workarounds, and teachers are okay with that. There is no quiz feature within this. Now again, this is a new learning management system. It's light on purpose. They might go and add in that feature in the future, and if so, we'll see that in our next showdown when we look at the different LMSs. So and given the way that it's been very popular, I could see that being something that's being added. But right now, there is no way to add it in. Some teachers will say, hey, we'll just make a Google form and place that in. Well, the problem with that is you can add in a Google form. You can add it in as an assignment, kind of like this Google Doc file that we added in. But when students complete the work, you have to leave Google Classroom, go into your Google Drive, find the scores there anyways, and then you can't bring those scores into your Google Classroom anyway. So you're basically doing all of the quiz, in that case, in an entirely different program. For that matter, you could use all types of different quiz programs because all the quizzing is being done outside, and just link it straight within here. That's not a tool that a learning management system that distinguishes Google from other learning management systems. Anybody can link out to other quiz tools. So if you're looking for an integrated learning management system quiz feature where you can build quizzes straight within the LMS, students can take them, the computer grades them, and import scores into a gradebook, Google Classroom is not the option for you. All right, we've added the items into our course, at least as much as we could, and we're ready to add in a student. Here's where that class code comes in. Now, one of the problems with this particular LMS is it does not allow for students outside of the organization to take a class. Typically, that won't be an issue. Most of the students you're going to take a class are students as part of your organization. We sometimes run into challenges with this. We couldn't use Google Classroom as our LMS because our students are teachers and they're not in the aapdonline.org domain. They don't have an AAPD Online email account and they probably don't want one. They have their own school account and such. While you can have within other LMSs, Moodle, Canvas, Schoology, they can go and create an account using that email address. Using that own information. They don't need to be a part of it. Within Google Classroom, they do need to. But for K-12 education, as I mentioned, that's usually not an issue. So I'm going to go in as a student, and the first thing I need to do is I need to, sorry, I messed up there. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go over to, let's go over here where I'm in as a student. Okay. I see as I've gone to classroom.google.com and logged in, I can see the other courses that I'm in, but I want to go to this one, so I'm going to click the plus button. I'm going to enter in that class code, and I'm going to join the class. All right, and now when I do, you can see here the different items that have been added in. And you can see below each, I can go in and add in a comment. Every time you create an announcement, you are basically creating a forum, regardless of even if you're trying to put in a video or whatever the case is. It kind of turns itself into a forum. I can click on the content. That'll take me straight to YouTube. I can go up here, click on the link. And I could go in and open up the PDF and so forth. All right. Now, we have that forum post here. I can go in and I can add in a comment. And post it. As a student, I can go back in and delete it if I'd like. Note when another person goes and comments on that, let's go back in as the teacher. You note how this post is not threaded. It isn't to replying to this one here. It's just placed in a long list of replies. The ability to have threaded discussions where posts are to other posts is something that Google Classroom cannot do. They only have flat discussions. And that's an item that's typical of light LMSs. Going back here, let's take a look at this one. If I click here to open it up, it again is taking me through a tutorial. I'm going to click the Got It button. I have the ability to go and add in a Google Drive file of my own as a student, a link or a file. I'm going to go ahead and click here. And I'm going to upload my document. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and add in my downloads folder, this one. And it's been added in. Now that it's been placed in there, I can click the Turn It button. Before I do, I just want to show you this. You can also create a brand new Google Drive file. Again, very good integration with the Google files there. Straight from in here, and then that will be what you would submit. So I click Turn In, and click that. And it's been turned in. Now I can't go in and edit it. However, once the teacher returns it to me, I'll be able to go in and edit that file. I mentioned the Google Classroom assignment. Let's take a look at that one as well. So we clicked on it. It's going to bring it up here in a second. I click to open it up. This is the item that I made, so I'm going to go ahead and put in something to demonstrate that I have finished it. I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to click the Turn In button. I don't have to share anything because it's already automatically shared with the instructor. If I wanted to share with other students in the class, that'd be an option I could do as well. Okay, so now that we've looked at how to go in and add things as a student, now we're ready to go in and grade them as an instructor. So if I click over here, you can see as an instructor that this has now been updated to show that those items are done. Let's go down to the forum first. Okay, when the student has been added in there, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Done button. And here I can go in and put in my score. I accidentally already put in my score there. Up here I can change the amount of points that it's worth. I can also type it in too. Let's say I want it to be worth 4 points. And I'm going to click Update. And then I can type in my score. We'll give them 3 out of 4 for that. Okay. And that's really the grading process in and of itself. I can return this, and by doing so I can leave a comment. Okay. Now when I go back to the course and go to my assignment here, same process. I could click here to go and look at it. I can change the points. This time let's just make it at 20. And then let's add in the grade. We'll make this one 18. It does not like half points here. Okay, we'll return that again to the student. That way they'll be notified that they have work that's been completed. And when I go into this one, this is our Google Doc assignment. By the way, if I click on it, you'll see that I can see that student's work. It'll be the original title with their name attached to it, and there's what they've added in. I can see the changes that they've made if I want to, looking at the revision history. This is just Google Drive information. This wouldn't be any different for any other learning management system. I could go in, though, and type in my own things here if I would like. Go back to here. Or I could add that in, instead of in the original form, I can add that in as a comment if I would like here. Regardless of that, once I go back here, I go and add in my points as I had before. Okay, now if I go into the course, you note that I can look at that and see the students that are done. If I have more students, they'll be posted down here. So by assignment, I can see what the work they've done. We don't have a gradebook though, and we don't have a collection of grades at all. What you can do is you can go in and you can download those if you'd like, and you can download all the grades, and doing so will create a CSV file, and then you can import that into your own gradebook. This is quite a lot of work. Most teachers don't like doing that, and so this is usually a process that they will not do. If teachers do have an active gradebook in their student information system, in campus or whatever, they often just do their grading there, and they don't use Google Classroom for grading. I can click on, by the way, students, and I can see here the list of students, but there is no gradebook as a part of this either. All right. Our next item is to take a look at how you can communicate with students within the learning management system. We left off by clicking on the Students tab, and we see the students listed here. I can go in and send them an email straight from here. This will pull open my my Gmail account, and we'll be able to send an email straight from there. Puts the email address right in the item there. Google Classroom does not have an internal messaging system like other learning management systems. So email is what they use. You can go in and add comments to other things on any item. They call they call these things announcements, even though a lot of times they're used just as regular content. And then students can go in and add in a comment if they'd like here. But those comments are for the entire class. They're not one-to-one. So just a few different ways in which you can go in and communicate with students. Google Classroom keeps it very simple. All right, our last item is to talk about advanced features. And this is going to be a little bit shorter than other learning management systems. Google Classroom does not have much in terms of advanced features. We mentioned that you can redo themes. We mentioned that you have the ability to go in and add in the Google document files. The one thing that we can add in here that I haven't shown you already is you do have the ability to reuse a post. Any of these items here are considered posts. So I could go into, for example, this course. I can select it. And then I could go and find an item that I had made before. And then I can reuse that item. And I can change it instead and make it to a different class if I would like. Post it. So that's a way of going and taking content, sharing it between other courses that you've created. It's a way for bringing things back up that you need to do, so you don't have to do that. It's not necessarily something that's overly unique. Other learning management systems do that as well, but it is a newer feature within Google Classroom, so I want to make sure that we shared it with you. And so that's a look at Google Classroom. Again, we recommend Google Classroom for teachers that are just getting started with learning management systems. If you're familiar with our zero entry pool analogy, these would be teachers that are kind of more in the 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot version region of the pool. Again, that's not to downgrade the type of learning that takes place there. That is, it's a very valuable tool, and teachers across the state can benefit greatly from using Google Classroom. Just understand what it's best used for. You do need to have a Google Apps. You need a Google Apps for Education school. You need to have Google Apps accounts. Your students need to have Google Apps accounts within your school domain in order to use it. It does not work very well with other tools such as embedding, other things and such. It's really designed to only be used with Google. It does not do quizzes very well. It doesn't have a whole lot of student reporting or data, not even as much as like Edmodo does. You don't get reports on when students have logged in or those other types of things. And the amount of customizations and other features you can do is pretty limited. We do recommend that teachers who do a lot with Google not only use this, but if they also want to do some blended learning, we do encourage them to actually use this in conjunction with their other learning management system. They might have their learning management system be where they do their content delivery, such as doing that in Moodle or Canvas, and then having a link within that class over to Google Classroom, and this is where they do the assignments. That is a way of kind of blending the two together. This works really well with all age levels, even down into like 3rd grade, maybe even 2nd grade level, because it is very simple to use. There isn't a whole lot of buttons. That's a nice thing about the light LMS, is that it's very handy for that purpose as well. We see a lot of 4th, 5th, and 6th grade teachers really like this tool to use with their classroom. If you have any questions about our LMSs, be sure to contact us. We can help you find the right solution for your school and also help put you in touch with professional development to make sure your integration and implementation is a success. Thank you.